What's up, everybody? Let's do a little distracting conversation here amongst all this stuff that's going kind of, everywhere, all over the place. I just wanted to let's talk about some sports here, right? Let's talk about what's going on in the sports world. I get it. Let's have a little distraction, right? Let's kind of separate ourselves from the situation for a little bit here, right? I know everybody wants to get back to it. Okay, that's fine. So the first thing I want to talk about, right, just, right off the top of my head here is let's talk about this idea. So 60 videos, 60 days, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. I know, I get it. Okay, well, it's going to be a little silly here, okay? So anyways, the idea that how crazy is it that Mike Tyson looks like he can go out there and fight today. Mike Tyson looks like he can go out there and fight today. That dude got in some crazy, ridiculous shape. Then the news surfaced that Shannon the Cannon Briggs, that, hold on, maybe I could share this to a group. I don't know, is that possible here? Sports Life, Ruben. Okay, let's go there. Let's see, can we share it with, let's see, Sports Talk Gurus. Let's see here. Let's see what else we can talk all sports. We're going to talk about boxing, baseball, basketball. We'll talk about Lakers. We'll talk about boxing. We'll talk about everything. We'll talk about, hold on here. Okay, let's talk about NFL Nation. Let's see who wants to join. All right. Okay, now that I've invited 14,000 kajillion people. So anyways, so I want to talk about sports. The first topic, I'm going to get on all the topics, okay? The first topic of the day is, like I talked about, I just brought it up, and I'm sorry, is Mike Tyson and the fact that this dude got in some crazy, ridiculous, phenomenal, ungodly shape. Like, how did he do that, right? This guy went out there, and I don't know what he did. Right? He got in some crazy, ridiculous shape. And then people are starting to post the before and after pictures of when he was in the Hangover movie, where he was, basically, I guess, at his heaviest, right? Which, I get it, right? He was a heavy guy, and Mike Tyson got himself in this crazy shape. Now, Mike Tyson wasn't in that kind of shape recently, right? So, like, they do this compare and contrast thing, where they're like, oh, he did a tremendous shape. Like, they're trying to exaggerate what he was able to do. They exaggerated. Oh, he was from here to there. No, Mike Tyson was heavy when they showed those pictures of him wearing that fancy shirt and some slacks, and he was kind of heavy. And, it's like, okay, he was a big guy. I get it, right? He's a big guy. And, okay. So he loses the weight. This guy gets in crazy, ridiculous shape. He starts throwing these crazy, like, training punch routines where it looks like he can go out and fight right now. He's 53 years old, and he looks so sharp, dude. Like, it's almost like this guy, because, like, Mike Tyson, when you would see him maybe a couple years ago before he got on this whole cannabis thing, because he has his own ranch now with cannabis, and he does his whole thing with that, right? So it's interesting because of the fact that, one, it seems like he's been doing the cannabis thing for a while now, and it seems like it's kind of reset his brain. He got in great physical shape, and this guy looks amazing, dude. He looks like he can fight. He looks like he's a top 10 or top 12 heavyweight contender, right? He looked physically fit for a 25-year-old heavyweight, a 20-year-old heavyweight, and needless to say, a 53-year-old heavyweight. If they had a senior citizens boxing circuit, he would be the undisputed unified champion of the heavyweight senior citizen boxing circuit. That guy looked tremendous, dude. And then when Mike Tyson was showing technique to a heavyweight UFC fighter in Francis Ngannou, and he was showing them how to hit the ribs and shift and move, how they circle around and they do all that crazy stuff, right? They were showing all that stuff, and it's like, what? How does this guy have the ability to do all that? How does this guy have the ability to get on that page where he's putting himself in a situation where this guy looks like he can still fight. Mike Tyson looks like he's ready to go, okay? If you just joined in, I'm going to talk about all sports. This is just a little distractionary period. If you guys want to join in, you want to chime in, put a comment in there. If you have an interesting topic, we'll talk about it. We'll dive into it. I'm going to talk about all kinds of sports. Like I said, this is just a little distraction from all the stuff that's going on. I'm not taking away from it. I'm not trying to discount any of it. This is just a little distraction. Just let's talk sports. Let's clear our head a little bit. That way we can chill out a little bit, relax about everything, and we can get back to focus. So that's the whole reason why I put this out here, okay? Because it's kind of like I've been kind of stuck at making videos. I've been kind of thinking about appropriate videos to make, and I said let's do a little distraction. Let's kind of clear our head with things, and let's kind of be the voice of let's kind of talk about some interesting stuff. So anyways, that's Mike Tyson, right? I just finished going off on this whole thing about how Mike Tyson looks amazing, about how the fact that this guy at 53 looked like he got in shape in the matter of 3 or 4 months. It's ridiculous, right? So I thought that was really interesting, right? And then, if you want to get into the weeds of, this kid named Ryan Garcia, King Ryan, this kid Ryan Garcia, which is like Mr. Oscar De La Hoya Jr., right? He's like Oscar De La Hoya the second, right? He's the next coming of Oscar De La Hoya. This guy didn't win a gold medal, but he came up, he's like 21 years old, he has a bunch of wins, he's undefeated, he's quick, he has knockouts, and see, that's the thing about that kid, right? A lot of people don't like him, a lot of people say that he's too braggadocious, he's too out there. He has 6.3 million followers on Instagram, which is a real tangible thing, right? He can sell tickets that way. And if we're talking about prize fighters, we're talking about entertaining boxers, if we're talking about what makes you buy a ticket to go see him fight, that number 6.3 million means that he's going to have the ability to fill a Staples Centers up. He's going to have the feeling to fill up Madison Square Garden as he grows that audience and you cultivate, right? So here's why he's very valuable, right? Everybody kind of doesn't like it. Everybody say, well, a purist boxer, that guy's too pretty boy, he's too this, he's too that, right? There's a lot of criticism about this Ryan Garcia kid. So initially, on the surface, when you look at him, I can see there's valid points about Ryan Garcia, about, oh, maybe this kid's not that good, maybe he's this, he's maybe that, right? That he's not appreciative of what he has. Now this kid, okay, if you don't know about this kid, he started boxing with his father. He started training in his garage, okay, in Victorville, California. This guy he wasn't a nobody, but was relatively unknown. He didn't have any real sponsorship. He didn't have anybody really kind of helping him out at the beginning. But as soon as people realize this is a good-looking kid, he's checking all the boxes, right? What do you do as an entertainer, as a prize fighter? Your entertainment value, your Q rating, as what they call it in entertainment, the Q rating, how kind of appealing are you to people, right? How are you engaging? How are you how do you put yourself in that system, right? So this guy has a high Q rating. He likes the camera. He likes to talk. He's got a ton of confidence. He's good looking. He sells tickets. This guy, he looks the part. He's got all the little tangibles, right? He checks all the boxes. So now he's going to start getting into the part of his career where he's going to get close. Hey, ¿cómo estás? Pancho, ¿cómo estás? And then so, flying them on camera, yeah. And so, filming them on camera, yeah. And then so you look at the situation, right? You look at the situation where Ryan Garcia is now like 18 or 20 and 0, whatever he is, right? Whatever he is, he's 20 and 0 or some, whatever the deal is, right? But the bottom line is he's now in a position or in a situation where he is going to start this next phase of career. He aligned himself, right? He aligned himself with with Canelo's team, which Canelo's team was responsible because they're all part of a team. Canelo's just the last piece in the whole puzzle. Team Canelo got Canelo Alvarez and company the richest contract in boxing history. He eclipsed the Floyd Mayweather deal, which was insane too. So that's what can happen to Ryan Garcia if he continues on this path. And I think those guys on Team Canelo, because they're experienced, will humble him a little bit, will put him in the seat, to humble him a little bit, so that all the bravado, all the confidence, the fact that he's good looking, the fact that he's charismatic, he likes the camera, he likes to talk, he's a good fighter, that's going to all lock in together. So what happens is you have, Canelo, right? They check all the boxes. He's consistent. You have to be consistent. See, that's another thing too. The fire in your belly is not enough. The fire in your belly is just one component of many when you look at boxing, right? And so Ryan Garcia, he's got the fire. That kid has got the fire. He's got the ability to put himself in a situation where he can start making tons and tons of money and fame and notoriety. Now, the question is, do you do what Conor McGregor did? You made this alcohol and you built this brand. Now you're worth $1 billion. Now you don't have to fight. You leveraged the fight game to get to the next phase of your life, right? Conor McGregor did it fast. Very unheard of. Conor McGregor transitioned from fighting to businessman in such a quick way, as opposed to somebody like an Oscar De La Hoya that had a long career, and he put himself in a situation where he built a brand in Golden Boy Boxing, and he built a promotion that is respected, well known. He was part of the team that brokered the deal with Team Canelo and the DAZN network, right? DAZN, DAZN network. He's the one that was involved with brokering and putting all that. He was kind of the glue with the whole thing, right? So kudos to all those people. And now Ryan Garcia is associated and affiliated with that whole group, right? So it's up to Ryan Garcia to follow through with all this and allow that team to kind of push him. They're going to push him. They got to really push the pace on him, because he's got to get championship killer level good. He can't just be good and great. You got to be sniper level. You got to be Canelo Alvarez. When Canelo Alvarez had the draw with Triple G the first time, and he came out on the second fight and completely adjusted his game plan and dominated that fight, that's what sniper level good is in boxing is. Sniper precision. You got to get in there, and there's no missed shots. There's one opportunity. If Canelo would have lost to Triple G the second fight, there might have been no $350 million payday. Okay? That's the way it goes, okay? There ain't no money if you can't get the W's, okay? It's the same thing with all these other fighters. There's rules to entertainment prize fighting. When you get to that level, like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz, if he rebounds, okay? All these fighters, these prize fighters, these top level A realm fighters, it's a clear formula. You got to keep it together. You got to stay humble. You got to be loyal to your team. And you got to listen to them, and you got to not only be braggadocious and confident and be willing to write your own path and be a trailblazer, but don't try to be a legend while you're still young. Don't try to cement your legacy. Don't try to plan for the future. All this other crazy stuff that these people talk about. Oh, what do you want to do? Oh, for my legacy. You're 30 years old. There's no legacy yet. Stop talking about I want to be the GOAT. There is no such thing as the GOAT. That's what people don't understand. There is no greatest of all time. The only sports athlete that I could think of in the history of sports that could possibly be the greatest of all time is Muhammad Ali. That's it, dude. All sports encompassing, when you give up your career, your championship, dominating heavyweight championship career up to get the laws of America or of a country changed, you got to show me something better. You can't dethrone the GOAT, which is Muhammad Ali, because when you do that kind of sacrifice and you put yourself, you're the greatest of all time. That's what greatest of all time does. He don't win 50-0 and made all the money like that. It was not about money. That's not something that money can get you. That's how you could, if anybody was considered a GOAT, that's GOAT level stuff. So if you tell me you want to be legacy and you want to be a champion and you want to be great and you want to be amazing and all this other stuff, Show me how you can change the world. Oh, Ruben, but that has nothing to do with you. We're just talking about sports. And there's no GOAT then. That doesn't work that way, okay? So anyways, that's my observation of Ryan Garcia. He has the potential, and he's on the trajectory. He's on that high trajectory. He's on what they call that exponential, right? It's like, it's just going higher and higher and higher. And he's getting up there. He's got to keep it together. He's got he's 21 years old. He's got over 6.5 million on Instagram. You say, Ruben, who cares? That's his generation. They love that Instagram stuff. They love TikTok, Snapchat. They love all that stuff, dude. That's how people consume their information. For a lot of people, they consume their news that way. Kids love that kind of stuff, right? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's the way it works now. That's the way that news is consumed. People are not fond of having to sit down somewhere at 6 p.m. and watch the news at a specific time. It just doesn't work that way no more, right? We don't live that type of life anymore. People don't run at that speed in cities like LA and these high densely populated cities. These are go, 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 go. Your job calls, your family calls. You can prioritize your time better. That's one thing about this whole internet age, is that if you want to consume sports, you could just download an app and you could watch it while you're driving. Well, not when you're driving. You could watch it while you're on a walk. You can watch it while you're eating food. You can watch it on the toilet. You know how many programs are consumed at the commodes? A ton of them. Why? Because you're killing two birds with one stone. Everybody says you should never do that. Really? You want to kill two birds with one stone? If we're talking about ultimately you only have 24 hours in a day to spend, and everybody realistically, everybody says I get 8 hours of sleep. Nobody always gets 8 hours of sleep. That's another cockamamie thing that everybody says. You should all get 8 hours of sleep. If you get 8 hours of sleep every single day, this is my opinion, you're boring. You show me somebody that gets 8 hours of sleep every single day. That's uninteresting. And I don't knock anybody for doing that. That's not interesting to me. If you're 55 years old and you're getting 8 hours of sleep a day, okay, that's a different story. But if you're in your early 20s and you're sleeping 8 whole hours a day, get on your phone and erase all the contacts. Because all your friends did you a disservice. If you're 22 years old and you're sleeping 8 hours a day, and even on the weekends, what's going on? Ruben, and then you say, Ruben, you should go. Ruben, you shouldn't be telling people not. No, I'm just saying that at 21, 22 years old, if you're sleeping 8 hours a day, where's your sense of adventure? It's not there. I guess that's what I'm trying to allude to, is this idea that, your sense of adventure and your lack of attention is what permeates young culture nowadays, right? And so in sports, when you have a kid that's on Instagram and he's feeding you all these little tidbits, all these little things, that's what's selling tickets ultimately. That's what's getting people. That's why that kid is on such a meteoric rise. That's why he's with Team Canelo, because of the fact that, who is this kid? He's 18, 19 years old. He really hasn't fought. If you really look at it, okay, he's fought some people. No disrespect to the wash-ups that he's knocked out. He still knocked them out. But we need to see Ryan Garcia get tested. We need to see him in a battle. I don't need to see him in no more Rudy Pools that just come in there and they're just there to get knocked out and they look scared going in. We don't need that anymore. We need him to start fighting B-level fighters, because he's on B right now. If he says he's an A-level fighter, he's got something going, because you got to fight a bunch of B-level fighters to get to the A-level status, right? So, anyways, that's my observation of the whole thing, right? So that's, boxing is a very interesting thing. There's a bunch of heavyweight fights that are coming on. And to sum it all up, at the beginning I talked about Mike Tyson, about this crazy, tremendous shape he's in. To sum up the boxing part of this whole thing that I'm talking about here, because I don't know how long I'm talking. I'm just going to keep talking until I get tired. I am going to post this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, right? Because everything I post, and the Anchor app, Anchor.fm, right? You can download all those things. They're free to listen to. It's called the Ghetto Eagle Podcast. A lot of these videos that I post that are long form will be posted on there too, so you can check it out. Feel free to check it out, subscribe, tell me what you guys think about it. It'd be interesting, right? Because it's so easy to post that stuff. The Anchor app has allowed me to be able to post all these. A lot of people that I have friends that are truck drivers said, Ruben, how come you don't post this stuff on podcasts? I go, well, it just takes too much effort. I'm a one-man show right now. The Second Half Media is a one-man show right now, but we will do better. We will get there. As soon as I get to the point where I'm generating budgets so that we can do things, then the production value will skyrocket. Absolutely. And so then we'll be showcasing more different people. We'll be, putting people in the limelight, and that's kind of ultimately what it's about here. So I love doing these videos, but the main focus of Second Half Media is not for just me. It's for other people to be showcased and promoted, and we grow a network where we can promote people that we want to promote. So anyways, to sum it up, I don't want to see Mike Tyson fighting. It's great that you're in shape. Please don't fight anybody. Bare knuckle fighting, for sure, don't see that. I don't think he's going to lose, but I don't want to see a 53-year-old Mike Tyson tarnish his history of us remembering the last time he was in a ring with the bare knuckle. I mean, it could be potentially that he could just knock a dude's head off and kill a person. I mean, that's a trained, expert level fighter, and it doesn't just go away. So be careful with that, right? Let's hold the bus here, right? So anyways, so that's it for boxing, right? So now I want to talk about, so let's transition. These transitions are horrible, right? But it's, it's my show, too bad, right? So anyways, long story short, so let's look at this aspect of NFL football coming up, right? Is the NFL going to be unscathed from COVID-19? And I want to say no. The answer is no, it's not unscathed, right? It's already seen that the NFL has been affected by season ticket sales, by pre-sale of tickets, by the way the draft unraveled, right? NFL football is going to be a little bit of disorganized the first quarter of the season. We won't know if the NFL plays a full season. We don't know who's going to be the front runner until at least midway through the season. There's either going to be a couple of undefeated teams. There could potentially be an undefeated team this year, right? Because it's going to be so chaotic. I know people say, Ruben, that's not true. It is true, right? When you have, why do you think the 1972 Dolphins were undefeated? What, if you think about it, what diluted, what was in the pool of young men? This was the whole eve of the reason why the 72 Dolphins even existed is because we have to take back and look at what's going on in society. The pool of people to pull the NFL athletes to come from, they just got done with the whole Vietnam stuff. So there's less potential. Oh, what's going on right there? Bring them on camera? I'm not bringing you on camera. You want me to bring you on camera, Sevilla? I don't, absolutely not, dude. Anyways, so that's the reason why the 1972 Dolphins were undefeated, is because what was going on. As a result of Vietnam War, there was less males to go out there and get these positions. So the smaller the talent pool, so forth and so on. So it's the same thing. That's what happened with this COVID-19 in a different way, right? In a different way. What happened was all the background research and all of the footwork that goes into trying to see into looking for investment opportunities into players, because that's what players are, right? NFL players, any professional, they're investments. These professional sports franchises, which are billion-dollar companies, are investing in these players to enrich their product, right? Or services, which is provide entertainment, okay? So that's where you got to look at this aspect. If you look at it in a strict sense, we're like, okay, when a company makes a rash decision on an investment, the risk goes through the roof, and that's what's going to happen because of COVID-19. It did not allow people to travel and do as much in terms of how you research these investments, if they were viable or they were a good fit for your squad. So you're going to see a lot of disorganization. You're going to see a lot of sloppy play. You're going to see a lot of things that you haven't seen in a long time in the NFL. You're going to see some really tremendous plays in the NFL. Okay, you're going to see a lot of people, a lot of quarterbacks, they're going to take advantage of poor planning, because the whole cycle of football now, it's so precise, and you have to fit the schedule so precise that any of these hiccups in what's going on, any of these breaks in continuity will affect the NFL, because they operate at a high level of precision when it comes to how these athletes train, prepare, and execute. It's a fact, right? So we got to be very careful where people are betting on. Be careful, bettors, okay? Be careful, NFL bettors, right? Oh, the Raiders are going to win the Super Bowl, the Rams, this and that, right? It's very difficult to anticipate that type of success, because of all these variables, the back and forth. It starts convoluting, it starts diluting the ability to understand who has the true value and who was a good investment or sound investment, right? So there's that aspect of it, okay? So when we talk about football, I'm so excited to see what's going on. And then if you want to see, okay, so I already talked about how the NFL football season is going to be full of sloppy play and everything. Now, I'm going to tell you this. College football is going to be even sloppier. And I don't mean this dishearteningly. It's no fault of anybody else. Because just like the NFL, they use a lot of resources to do research and prepare themselves to see and to try to uncover what is a good investment in a sound player. The college football does the same thing. Now they don't have as much resources. They don't have as much time. See, all of this is about time consumption, right? There was a lot of dead time. There was a lot of time that was just not utilized because it was a factor of that everybody just had to kind of chill out. Everybody had to go in freezer mode, right? Where it's like you couldn't do anything. So that being said, I'm still excited about the sports season. I talk a lot about sports, and I'm still excited to see everything unravel. I can't wait for regular sports to kind of start surfacing, and we start enjoying that. And I could talk about this, and and I always talk about how sports is a demonstration in human excellence, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever. It shows what can be done, right? It shows what can be done, the human mind, what feats. That's why we get so enamored by the Olympics, right? I was just showing my nephew, we were just talking about Michael Phelps and all the Olympic gold medals and how this guy won all these Olympic medals, and we show him videos of it, and the kid is 8 years old, and he was so enamored by it. He was like, wow, because it's so amazing. That it's an example of excellence through dedication, discipline, perseverance. You name all the attributes, right? You name all the attributes, and they're there for them. And so that's what I look forward to being able to talk about again. And college and professional football are no different. They're going to start. Hopefully, we can get people in the stands, and we can create that environment, and we can continue on it, and we can continue to move forward with this growth. All this stuff, this 2020 has been a kind of a rocky year. I mean, you name it, there's a bunch of situations that we can talk about and go over. However, I'm an optimistic person, so I always look at the brighter side, and I think that there's always better stuff. I always think that things can get better, and we can move forward and grow. So there's that, right? So you talk about college football, right? And professional football, and I talked about the sloppy play and all that, and then so there's that, right? And then you have this situation with NBA basketball. Now their season was red hot while it was going on. It had so many storylines and interesting situations that were very compelling and very interesting. They were very, very, very. Basketball was at its highest. There was some controversy with China and how they were upset, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, but basketball was at its peak. It was happening. It had a bunch of storylines, and that's what makes sports entertainment is the storylines, right? Oh, this person's there. He traded here. How is this person meshing with this person's personality? And when we talk about basketball personalities, we just saw that docuseries on Michael Jordan where he talked about the last dance and his aggressive personality and all these leadership traits that exist, and he just has one of many, and other people, there's other champions that have won different ways. So we look at that, we you know, it's always like a puzzle, like a mystery puzzle when you put all these players' personalities together. Yeah, that guy scores 30 points a game, that guy scores 40 points a game, that guy exists. Like, all these guys have all these amazing individual stats, but then it's even more interesting because you don't know what's going to happen when they come together with people of different abilities, right? Was LeBron James a champion in Miami because of the system and the coaching? Or was it the people around him? Or was it he himself that willed the team to the championship? Was it like that? Was it like that for him in Cleveland? Was it him that done that? Did that rather? It's hard to tell, right? It's hard to break it all down because you don't know that. That's why sometimes you say to yourself, why was this person so great in this team versus how good they are now? They've fallen off. People say, oh, that person sucks now. That person's no good anymore. Could it be that maybe that person was too dependent on that system that allowed them to be successful, right? Or some people just so amazing that regardless of the system, they're going to be great. It could be said all the which way. See, that's the beautiful thing about sports debating, right? You can go back and forth with that a whole bunch, right? And again, in basketball, it's the same thing. I'll talk about it. There's no GOAT. There's no greatest of all time. Everybody talks about Michael Jordan's the GOAT, LeBron James the GOAT, Kobe Bryant's the GOAT, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone. You can go down the list. Jerry West, you know, you can go down, Bill Russell, you can go down the list as the GOATs. Who's the best? You know? It's all conjecture and it's all invalid because the time, the era, you know, just like I talked about in football, why the Miami Dolphins were undefeated is because we were coming off the Vietnam War, and the pool of young people that to play sports was diminished. So the general quality of players was down. So when you were able to cobble together a good team, they were able to take advantage because the second and third stringers were way less good. They were way less. Thank you for that thumbs up. The quality was way less. So what happens is now, what are we having now, right? Okay, in the NBA, it's saturated, dude. A bunch of good teams, a bunch of good players. You know, are we going to start calling Steph Curry one of the greatest of all time? No, dude, like I said, nobody's the greatest of all time in basketball. But Steph Curry is going to start being in that conversation if he wins a couple more championships. Kevin Durant, we can name all these players on and on and on and on. When a player changes the game of basketball, the rules and the way things are done, how does all that work? Right? How do you put all that together? Right? How do you put all that together, and how do you develop the rules for who is the greatest of all time? Right? And then so when we look at basketball, when we look at the season coming up, it was shortened. So here's, to me, this is going to be a very good and interesting restart of the season, right? So this is going to be an interesting dynamic of the sports mind when we're going to see who has the strongest mental fortitude to be able to not only restart the season, but restart it after all this COVID-19, restart it after all the protests and riots, and be able to maintain a high level of focus that is going to be retired. Are we going to see sloppy play in the NBA? Of course, dude. Of course we're going to see sloppy play. Of course we're not going to have this. It's not going to be sharp. It's not going to even be entertaining the first couple of games. People are out of shape. People are not in position to be focused. Yeah, they were training and they were doing it, but they don't have their legs under them, so to say. Right? They don't have their sea legs, as they would call it. They're not in position to be able to. They're not in position to be able to maintain a high level of physical endurance right now because they've all been on hiatus for right now, right? So the first couple games, yeah, they're going to be sloppy, just like the NFL, just like all these other teams. They're going to be sloppy, but it's going to sharpen up. The question is, does a LeBron James, who he was basically him and the Los Angeles Lakers were sitting on top, and I know I'm biased for the Lakers. I know, sorry, not sorry, but his status as the Lakers were basically the number one team in the NBA right now. They were in it to win it. They had some contenders in the Clippers and the War, and all these other, not the Warriors, but Houston Rockets. And there's a bunch of people on the West, and then the East, you got the Greek Freak. You have him out there. So what's going to happen? Who is going to be able to keep it together for the remainder of the season? If they play, they're probably going to play 10 to 12 games as warm-up for the playoffs, so the playoffs don't start off as hot garbage. We don't need hot garbage in the playoffs in the NBA. It's going to really be a disingenuous action if they start the playoffs immediately. Now, maybe if time constraints are involved. What's going on, Alex? If time constraints are involved, then I can see them not having a choice in starting the NBA playoffs at the beginning, right off the bat. I can see that too, right? I can see that too. But I would really like them to play about 10 games, get the rust out, get all the boogers out, get your legs under you, so that when the playoffs start, it'd be sharp, dude, be entertaining, dude. Give us some distraction to look at. Give us a way to focus on something besides all this negativity that's going on. Not saying you can't, not saying that it's not important. I'm just saying that we need a little distraction. Let's get a little distraction, just a little bit. So we can keep our sanity here, right? We can still fight the good fight, but let's keep a little bit of sanity going, right? Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. So, in that, I still think the Lakers are the team to beat. I still think the Houston Rockets are on fire, and they got something to prove. I think the Clippers have manipulated the beginning of the season by sitting out Kawhi Leonard. We hope we didn't forget about that. The Clippers, if they beat the Lakers in the playoffs, if that becomes the Western Conference Finals and they beat the Lakers, they cheated. We're just going to say they cheated. What's going on, Brenda? And they're just going to say they're cheated. That's all we're going to say. We're going to say the Clippers of I don't even know. They're going to be of the Clippers of where? Cheated if they beat the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, because they're going to set that up to be that way. And so the basketball talked about, before all this stuff happened with COVID, they talked about reseeding the playoffs, making it so that good teams play the good teams, that the proper teams make the playoffs. And I don't like that idea. I like the current system, right? Where some people get in and you never know, right? They shock the world, right? Or those really garbage teams get in the playoffs. Well, then they deserve to get beat anyway, and they're playing the top-notch teams anyway that we're going to win anyway. So I think there's I don't know. I'm not too impressed with this idea. We need to change things up, right? Like, relax, right? Let's just stay focused and let's get it all done. So in basketball, I like what's going to go on. The season is going to restart. They're not going to do away with the season. I think the NHL canceled their season, but I mean, let's be honest with you. The NHL season, it's not like a ratings juggernaut. It's not like they're selling a cajillion tickets on that thing, right? Let's just call it what it is, right? We're not saying that hockey sucks. I'm not saying that at all. It's a sport, great. There's a history, but hockey has been having a hard time lately getting eyeballs on Generation Snapchat, right? Hockey is having a hard time with Generation Snapchat and TikTok, right? And guess what? You got to get those people involved. If I was hockey, I would put live hockey games on TikTok or on Snapchat or do something like that. And that's what I would do. I would put those games on like that. Because of the fact that you gotta constantly be recruiting the young generation to be involved in sports, so that way you can have a constant influx of people, right? And so that's kind of the whole situation, is that you want to be able to continually recruit a new audience, right? And the new audience is on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. Right? Do I understand those things 100%? No, I'm 42 years old. I barely understand social media, right? And I read about this thing all day, right? So my thing is, what's going to happen, right? What is going to happen with basketball And what's going to happen with baseball? I'm going to talk lastly about baseball. And baseball is this weird enigma where they just didn't even get started. Their season is on pause, which I kind of like it because it gives a lot of guys to rest and all that stuff like that. But one thing I will say about baseball is they need to get it going, and they need to get it going soon. They need to try to jump off the season. But anyways, I'm kind of ending the road here today. I'm done. This is a long video, but it was a little bit distraction. Hopefully, if you guys enjoyed it, that's great. It's going to be on podcast form in about an hour or two. Check it out. Tell me what you guys think. It's going to be the same thing, but if you got to drive and you want to hear my dumb butt talk about all this other sports stuff, you can chime in, dude. You can chime in. If you want to talk, if you want me to hit on a specific subject or topic about sports, you just got to put in the comments. I read all the comments. I have a small following, but if you put it on the comments and you're mildly entertained by this whole thing, and you're like, Ruben, what about badminton, Ruben? Ruben, what about table tennis, Ruben? Ruben, what about cricket, Ruben? Ruben, why don't you talk about track and field? Oh, guess what? I got an opinion on all the sports. It's okay. Hit me up. Hit me up. It's okay. I'm not going to bash anybody. I'm not going to make fun of anybody. Probably just make fun of myself. That's the way it works for me, okay? But anyways, if you like this video, let me know. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you think I wasted a colossal amount of your time, give it a thumbs up. If you think it sucks, subscribe. That's the way it works. If you choose to. Hopefully it's distracted your day, or at least a little bit of it. Now we can get back to fighting the world. Talk to you guys later. Bye.